Typically, we're going to look at yoga in a different light today. How many people here believe that yoga can be used for weight loss? Okay, all right. We'll take this question one more time after the talk. Okay, so essentially when we look at yoga, we look at values, we look at attitudes. So the values are called the acharas, or the routines and behaviors. Attitudes, which are the viharas. Habits, which is the diet and the lifestyle. Okay, and in a country like this, where we really sincerely lack resources, I think probably we have some solutions, at least as far as mind management and activity is concerned. Okay, so how does yoga impact? The yogic asanas definitely help. The breath work in yoga is very, very impactful. The meditation techniques actually help correct the mind. So a lot of times, even something as simple as adherence to the diet or adherence to an exercise plan, a person falls out of it. They begin in full zest, but after 3 months to 6 months, the rate of adherence slowly drops down. And that essentially is a problem. So essentially, we need something which can make our mind really strong and make us adhere to the same thing. Okay? And also there's some work on chakra. A lot of work has done. However, we don't have so much of scientific evidence, so I won't cover that in this talk. When we look at the yogic levels, we look at all the different koshas. So the 5 different koshas, first one being the Annamaya kosha, that is the physical body. The second being the breath. The third being the emotional body. Fourth is the intellectual body. And the final one is the bliss or the Anandmaya kosha. And each of these are very, very impactful. If you look at traditional ways, when we lacked all this literature, I think some of the traditional yogic texts actually went right down into the mind management of the person, and that was very, very important. So when we talk about aharas, biorhythms, exercise, and I think we've heard some brilliant talks by all the speakers. So a part of yoga, so the yoga asanas are a part of the achar. Okay, so it says not once, not twice. A slow, sustained, everyday routine is very, very important. Okay, so whatever person begins, he goes on for the rest of his life. Also, the yogic diet is a very important part of this entire. So it's like a table which has 4 parts: the ahar, achar, vichar, vihar. So the meat ahar, which is based on the balanced diet. Again, we look at food as 3 gunas, that is the sattvic guna, rajasic guna, and the tamasic guna. And since we have a lot of dietitian friends here, I have just converted sattvic diet into its translation into a modern day, and we see that it is a high calcium probiotic foods. We look at a lot of polyphenols because there are a lot of fiber. We look at all the sprouts and all the oligosaccharides and polysaccharides coming in. So overall, it's nice. Rajasic diet, again, typically when we look at the, we say eat less of processed foods, less of high fat, sugar, salt, though that's also the FSSAI garden, and exactly that is Rajasic food. And Tamasic food is all the stale food, all the refined carbs, and all the foods high in trans fats. Again, because we're looking at stomach size, and we have this beautiful Japanese concept, which is also a yogic concept, it's called the Hara Hachibu. And it says portion controls, eat only 80%, keep 20% slightly empty. And when we look at concepts like intermittent fasting, I think they're completely contradictory to this. Because the moment the stomach pouch stretches with the amount of food, automatically the need to eat is much more. So yoga again speaks on small frequent meals. खाना उतना ही खाओगे 4 घंटे के बाद भूख लगे, नहीं तो which means if you don't feel hungry, you overeaten in the previous meal. Okay, pranayam, very, very important. It's very effective. It helps in increasing lung capacity. It improves functioning of the brain and the hypothalamus, improves the relation between the pituitary glands and other glands. It also definitely helps in reducing stress and emotions. Yogic sleep, again, extremely important, because today sleep distress and disturbed circadian circles are something which we are all aware of the patients. When we look at yogic asanas, again, asanas like Vakrasana, Paschimottanasana, Ardhamarshyasana, all the twisting asanas actually activate, they'll stimulate the pancreas and they'll release insulin and glucagon from the pancreas. Okay, the relaxation asanas definitely inculcate a feeling of let go. Meditative asanas stimulate the Agyan chakra and they also help a lot in the functioning of the pituitary gland. Yoga teaches, so every exercise, every asana in yoga is not only a physical posture, but it's also mind attribute. So typically an asana like somebody has to do, it essentially means that when one goes down, you go down with a feeling of let go. You go down with a feeling of reverence. You go down with a feeling of, so you're letting go a lot of things. And if you look at all our patients, they hold on to too many things. They hold too many negative emotions. Okay? So every physical asana, even of forward bending, helps in better mind management if done with the correct attitude of let go. Some of the strength and confidence exercises would be those which are anti-gravitational. So something like Bhujangasana, something like a Superman's pose, something like a Dhanurvakrasana. Each of these pull up. So if you look at a patient, normally his shoulders are always drooping down and he's really, really upset. But if all of you all can you all just pull up your shoulders and sit up? Sit with your core tight. Open up your shoulders. Doesn't that make you feel better? Exactly like that, some of these asanas, which are the Aishwarya Bhavasanas, they actually help a lot in training the mind and they might change the entire emotion of the person. So these are some of the asanas. Vihar, again, is recreation, is relaxation. Vihara actually also means moving. So the Buddhist monks never really stayed in one place. They moved every 3 months so that they didn't get attached to too many things. But otherwise, my topic was yoga, pranayama, meditation versus walking. So I don't think it's versus walking because yoga already talks about walking as a part of yoga. So it's very, very integrated there. And take your heart for the walk. So we have our national leader, Gandhiji. We know it improves, and I think all the previous speakers have said, we require very, very minimum aids to walk. Also, some of the other walking which we've done is, today we also do aquatic walking, we do resistance walking at the beach, also walking up the hills for some of the patients or just climbing upstairs can be great weight bearing exercises, and these are small tips which are given for every person who does yoga. They may be allowed to take down the lift but climbing upstairs definitely, and synchronizing the breathing whilst climbing up the steps is a very, very important activity. Slow walking, also relaxation. So I think whilst most exercises complete themselves, but there is nothing which addresses the mind. But yoga, I think, fits in perfectly because it also does a lot of mind management. A lot of work is done with the patients where the patient is actually taught that create detachment, create a witness-like attitude. And patients are often taught with all these mind management techniques, with the meditation techniques, that you cannot leave the keys of happiness in somebody else's pocket. To be happy or not to be happy is completely your choice. And I think with all that sense of understanding which yoga gives you towards a better life, I think weight management becomes very easy. Also, doctor spoke about Tandav yoga. Dance and recreation definitely is a part of Vihara, and it emphasizes on a lot of physical activity. So with that, I complete my presentation. It's a small recipe for happiness. It says, 2 heap cups of patience, 1 heart full of love, 2 hands full of generosity, 1 head full of understanding. The method is mix all these ingredients well, sprinkle generosity and kindness, add faith and mix well, add a dash of laughter and serve smilingly to everyone you meet.